The new era of marketing is here, and cold outreach, to be quite frank with you, is dead. The reason I'm saying that is very simple. Over the last 4 years, I have personally worked with more than 350 high-ticket clients that we have signed through our mechanism, which we call the inbound acquisition engine. And in this video, I'm going to break down to you exactly how we did so and why the old way to acquire clients, especially the rich clients, the high-quality clients, the high-ticket ones, doesn't work anymore. And why pretty much every single person entering this marketplace, whether they call themselves a shadow operator, a growth operator, or anything else in that realm, literally stands zero chance of doing well in this game unless they understand where this market is headed in the coming years. Just so you know who I am before we get into anything else in the first place, my name is Elias Mueller. I run Pace Collective, which is a marketing/consulting company. And over the last 4 years, I have done nothing but acquisition, meaning marketing and sales, for both myself, my portfolio companies, and every single client that we have worked with ever since. Now, in this video, there's a couple of fundamental truths and topics that I want to break down to you specifically in detail so you understand exactly how you can position yourself to be able to do as well as humanly possible in this market in the coming years. Every single person that we work with on the low end, which is done with you, we have the target of reaching $60,000 a month in cash profit. Every single person we work with on the higher end, our actual partnership deals, which is B2B, where we take revenue shares, a big setup fee, as well as equity, the goal with every single one of them is $500,000 a month. And these numbers are by no means usual in any way, shape, or form. And because of that, obviously we need to understand a thing or two about this market to be able to achieve that. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the video. One thing you need to understand, fundamentally speaking, is how money works. And before you drop off this video because you think it's another topic that you've heard before, I can promise you for a fact you haven't heard this exact perspective before. And it's going to open your mind towards understanding exactly how you need to position yourself in the coming years to do well. So bear with me, give me the time of the day. This video is completely raw. I'm just sharing my raw thoughts. There is nothing scripted about this video. This is me and you having a conversation, me and you talking to each other, and me and you exchanging some game that's going to help you do extremely well. So if you can't even stick around for a 10-minute video that breaks down exactly what you need to do for the coming years for you to be able to be extremely successful with this, please click off right now, because you're literally not standing any chance of winning at all. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. We need to understand how money is being made in the first place to understand what concept I'm about to break down when it comes to the marketing side of things. And the number one thing that we need to understand for that is how competition works. Competition works very simply. Competition means that one party makes more money than the other party. If we have two competitors in one market, say in a utopian world, there is an industry, a marketplace, in which we have two competitors and no more than that. And these two competitors have the exact same circumstances and the exact same structures and the exact same systems and processes. Literally the entire business is the exact same. It's just that one of those two companies has one key hire, right? One key team member more than the other company, which might make up for a 5% total difference. In a fair world, the company that has that team member makes 5% more money. In the real world, the one that we're living in, the person that has that team member or the company that has that team member will not make 55% of the money and the other party 45%. Very likely, that party will make 97% of the money and the other part 3%. Because every single small, tiny competitive advantage matters. The reason you make more money than Tom and John across the street is because you have an edge that they don't have. That edge can be literally anything. That edge can be that you just have more money than them, and so you're able to allocate more funds, which makes you grow faster. That edge can be one better case study. That edge could be you being able to take risks because your personality type is a slight bit different. That edge could be location, that edge can be product, that edge can be team, that edge could be brand, that edge could be literally anything. Now, what you have to understand is that business is very nuanced. As you've just seen, I could literally give you like 100 different things that give you an edge from the get-go. What does that mean? If we put this into simple terms and into simple words real quick, and again, bear with me, this is all going to make sense in just a second. What that means is that you have to optimize for every single tiny possible advantage that you can get in this marketplace whatsoever. And that ties into a couple of different things. Number one, the first thing that ties into is spending money. If you are not willing to spend money on your business, getting mentors, coaches, consultants, courses, communities, agencies to help you with certain things, team members, ads, software, etc., etc., etc. If you're not willing to take a hit and a risk on the money side of things and commit everything you have, you're going to lose. I did that when I started out. Whenever I speak to somebody who's not willing to actually commit with their money, I just genuinely cannot understand it, because I've been wired like this from the get-go, which is a big part of the reason as to why I'm doing what I'm doing today and why I'm doing the numbers that I'm doing today. The only reason I'm doing that is because I was able to be committed from the get-go. You have to be committed with everything you have, your time, your energy, your money, your focus, everything you have. And if you don't do that, then you don't take all of the competitive advantages that you could have into account, which means that you stand very little chance of coming out even anywhere near the top. And so, again, to reframe this, really to go through this again, so this is top of mind for all of us. The reason you make more money than John across the street is because you have a competitive advantage. And that can be 1, or it can be 10, or it can be half of a competitive advantage. It literally doesn't matter. As long as you have one, you're gonna do way better than him. Now, the actual problem behind this is that you don't know what competitive advantage you have in comparison to John, because obviously you don't have that much insight into his business, which brings me again to my point. You have to use every single asset, every single tiny edge, every single tiny competitive advantage that you can get for you to be able to do better than him. Okay, and if you're not willing to do that, you should not be an entrepreneur. Now that we have this out of the way, let's get into the actual technical details, the reason as to why you're here, the reason as to why you clicked on this video. I said that marketing and a new era of marketing is here and cold outreach is dead. Why does that tie into competitive advantages? Well, it's because I want to make you understand one thing. People in this marketplace always talk about the different strategies that you can use for your marketing, right? You fundamentally speaking, at the start of your company, have 3 different ones. You have cold outreach, you have content, and you have paid ads. That is the 3 that you have from the get-go. And people always obsess over this one way of doing things. Just build a brand, or just do cold outreach, or just do ads. Now, what I want you to understand is that all of these different strategies have pros and cons, but at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to do the things that people aren't willing and able to do. The regular way of doing cold outreach is absolutely dead. What I mean by that is texting people a message of like, hey John, I've seen this and that on your profile. I've seen you got this award, and I've seen you did this and that. I also looked at your website, looked amazing. And sparking a conversation in that way, no chance you're making good money from that. Because that has been done and regurgitated so many times in the marketplace in the last few years. There is literally no way in which you're gonna be able to make money with that. Now, how are you gonna be able to make money? You need to do the things, listen very closely to me here. You need to do the things that others are not willing and able to do. Ideally both, or ideally at least one of them. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for example, brands. You have to put yourself out there. Why am I filming this video right now? Why am I making more money than other people in my marketplace? Well, a lot of people in my marketplace aren't even willing or able or both to sit in front of the camera and film videos, which is ridiculous to me. Hundreds of years ago, you had to go out there and put a bunch of money into a business and struggle and try to survive. And at the end of your life, maybe you didn't even build any business whatsoever because it was so hard to do it back then. Nowadays, you literally just click a couple of buttons, talk to people in meetings, and talk to the camera, and you're afraid of that? That's pretty gay if you ask me. Now, right? Not to insult anyone here, right? Not to insult anyone here. Obviously, being gay is not an insult. You get my point. The point I want to make is like, you cannot be afraid of building a brand and posting organic content and putting your face out there if you're trying to do something that almost no one is doing. Because let's be real here for a second. If your goal is to make, say, $1 million a year, which is 83 grand a month, which isn't even that much in revenue, okay? Say that is your goal. Okay, let's look at the population in first world countries, US, Germany, etc. You look at the population. If you make 500K a year, you're in the top 1%. If you make above $1 million a year, I would assume that you're, say, in the top 0.1%. What does that actually mean? Let's put this into words. If you were to enter a room right now with 1,000 other people in that room, 1,000 people, okay, and you were to compete in every single metric against every single one of these people, would you come out number one against 999 other people? If the answer to that is a confident yes, then you very likely have a lot of competitive advantages, you very likely are already very competent, and you've got a lot of stuff going for yourself. In most instances, when I ask people that question, they're not so sure. They might say a pretty unconfident yes. Some of them say no, some of them say, I don't know, maybe. What you have to understand, again, goes back to first principle thinking. If you want to make a lot of money, and you want to make the type of money that 0.1% of people in the actual society are making, then you have to look at it from a metric standpoint. And you have to understand few people are doing what you want to be doing. If few people are doing what you want to be doing, what does that mean? There's very few people that have an edge, a competitive advantage in what you're doing comparatively to the rest of the industry. What you now have to understand if you want to get to the exact same place is that you have to be committed with literally every single thing you have to be able to even stand the slightest chance of having the amount of competitive advantage it takes and the edge it takes to make that kind of money. Based on all of this understanding, we now need to understand how marketing works nowadays for an agency or an info company, because it's very, very similar in both ways. How does marketing actually work nowadays? Well, the methodology that we've been using for both ourselves internally for Pace Collective, as well as for every single portfolio company that I'm working with, and for every single client that we're working with, is called the inbound acquisition engine. The way it works is really simple. It's a simple 3-step process in which we first install the organic infrastructure, meaning Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of that good stuff, so that this organic infrastructure and the organic profiles are actually highly converting towards the specific ICP that we're trying to target. Once that's done, we establish and put our sales system on top of that. That ties into the sales team and everything you're doing in the pre-call process, the nurture process, the framing stuff, the priming, and all of that good stuff. Once these first 2 steps are done, we have proof of concept. We signed the first few clients from that system, then we run paid ads towards it to really scale that whole infrastructure. And then as we scale, there's gonna be certain things breaking in the business, and as we go, we fix those things with different things: trust funnels, mini webinars, webinar funnels, certain types of landing pages, pre-call pages, thank you pages with breakout videos, certain email marketing sequences. There's a bunch of things this ties into. I'm not trying to make this video super technical and detailed because honestly, we would be sitting here for 2 hours. But the point that I'm making is if you want to make a lot of money, you need to have a competitive advantage. To have a competitive advantage, you need to be willing to give it your all, literally everything you have. If you're not willing to build a brand, if you're not willing to go out there and spend money on anything you need to actually grow the business, if you're not willing to put all of your time, your energy, your effort, and your focus into it, you will not do well. Honestly, I don't understand why people don't understand this, because the concept is really simple. I just really want you to wake up right now. It is not that easy to make that much money. Now, you should believe it is, because you never want to believe something that's, not serving you. You should believe things that are good for you. But if we look at this from an objective angle, just for 1 second real quick, making a lot of money for the average person is really hard. So you cannot be average in your inputs and in the commitment that you're willing to put towards the business. And if you do that, well, you're just gonna waste your time because you're never gonna be able to amount to anything. And that is the harsh reality of things. So although this video is mainly about marketing and the new era of marketing, which I just broke down with the inbound acquisition engine, you will not do well unless you understand this concept. And I really want to drill that into your mind, because I know for a fact if you just do this and you implement this, you can do so well in life. But most people just do not do it. And so this is really a super, super key principle that you need to understand. Now, to dive a bit more into the marketing side of things, the main point I'm making is this. Most of the outreach strategies that you see online are completely outdated. If you're, for example, running a growth operating, shadow operating business, whatever you want to call it, all of these words are pretty fucking cringe in my opinion, just because they're all the exact same business model in a regurgitated way that gurus are selling you just to sell more courses. But my point being, if you're running these types of businesses, info agency, AI agency, software, whatever that may be, in these types of business models, you need to have a brand. If you don't have a brand, it is so insane to me how someone cannot build one. Okay, I really want you to understand this. If you run an online service-based business, building a brand is literally free traffic. You post a YouTube video, you make 20 racks for nothing. All you did is just record a video and post it, and it costs you nothing. I hope you realize how insane that is. So the content not only taps into helping with the actual conversion process because people, get familiar with you, they trust you more and all of that good stuff. It also, on a side note, brings you free extra traffic. And so YouTube is incredibly important. You should put 80 to 90% of your focus into long form videos. That's what we've been doing with our portfolio companies, and it's been working incredibly well. And then outside of that, you should be building your infrastructure on Instagram as well as LinkedIn to attract lead flow and have some good cold outbound processes on there. Now, you noticed how I'm saying cold outbound, but then at the start I said that cold outbound is dead. Cold outbound is dead if you're using it standalone, and it's dead if you're using one of the outdated methods. The thing is, between myself and all of our portfolio companies and clients, we're sending 4,000 to 5,000 outreach messages every single day. And so we know exactly what works. And I can promise you for a fact, the outreach that actually works changes once every 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks. And so you have to stay on the pulse. You have to have the data. But that's again why it's so important to have help from people that have been doing this for longer and are actually good at this already and have the established systems that are already working. Because if you don't, you're going to be working against people that have a bunch of competitive edge on you and you're trying to outsmart them. It is literally impossible. You have to work your way up. You have to work with people who are already doing what you're doing. If you're not willing and able to commit with your money to that, by the way, everybody in a first world country has access to money. Don't lie to yourself. If you're not willing to commit to that, it's fine, but you're not made for this in that case. So that's that. The new era of marketing is based on having a strong organic presence, a strong converting funnel architecture, having a strong sales system and sales team that runs these things. And in addition to that, having a strong process for delivering, getting great client results, and with that, obviously getting referrals and really growing that side of things as well. All you need to do well also on paid ads is literally just have that, because paid ads and how profitable they aren't dependent on the ads themselves. Although that's a part of it, paid ads are really easy. Any kid can do them well. What it's dependent upon is how well your actual funnel is structured, right? Everything around the ad, that's what matters. The funnel architecture, right? Personalized lead magnet landing pages, trust funnels, mini webinars, anything you do in the pre-call / framing process, anything you have in terms of case studies, your actual brand on the profiles, all of these things, that is what determines and makes or breaks the business and makes or breaks how profitable it actually is. And so ads bring you traffic reliably. They don't bring you clients reliably. Have the infrastructure built first, then you can launch ads once you have enough proof of concept. And that's it. To sum up this video and sum up the takeaways real quick, you need to be committed to what you're doing with everything you have. If you're not willing to do that, entrepreneurship isn't for you. That's number one. Second thing you need to understand is the traditional way of doing cold outreach and getting clients that way is dead. You need to have proof, you need to have brand, you need to have things in place that actually make people want to work with you. You need to establish a brand first, then put these sales systems in place based on data. Again, that data you get access to by buying yourself access. And then after that, when you have proof of concept, scale paid. That is the whole structure that you need to have in place. There's a lot more this ties into, but again, this video isn't intended to be like 2 hours long. So I hope you found an insane amount of value in this video. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help any of you. Shoot me a DM on IG, first link in the description. And outside of that, I hope you guys have a blessed and amazing rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next video. Let's make some money.